Hello out there, this is Wakeangel2K1 bringing you a review of another one of my impulse purchases. This time it is the Deku Link, one of the 2.5-inch World of Nintendo toys. Like I said, I don't normally get the 2.5-inch figures because I don't really collect unarticulated minifigures, but every now and then, one of them actually does blend in the scale with the larger figures. Before, it was the Metroid. And now we're going to see if Deku Link deserves that spot. The packaging is actually pretty nice. You can see it has a custom card, which actually features Link as he appeared in Majora's Mask, which is a really nice touch. He's even holding up the Deku mask. Considering that game came out in like the late 90s, this is definitely a toy for older fans and not something that you'd pick up for kids who... Well, I guess Majora's Mask was re-released on the 3DS fairly recently, so I guess younger kids would still recognize it. And the back of it shows a very nice picture of Deku Link, looking quite lamentable. Look at the poor little guy. He looks outright sad, like he's contemplating his existence in that flower. Along with a description which is hugely outdated now because we have Breath of the Wild, which had him in a blue tunic. Although you can get green tunics in that game, so I guess... Also, I guess this is the best time to point out that I am offended that Breath of the Wild made Link right-handed. Link has only ever been right-handed in 1.5 games before. Skyward Sword and the Wii version of Twilight Princess. Both of those times was just to accommodate motion controls. So to make him right-handed in a game that does not have motion controls is offensive to me and all the other left-handed people of the world who looked up at him as a hero to admire. You know? Like, it's kind of like whitewashing, except you're right-washing. That's what you're doing. Alright, semi-controversial statements aside, here's the rest of what came in the wave. And as you can see, there are some things that would blend in with the with the regular 4-inch scale figures, like the little tiny Pikmin, which would be pretty much the right size next to bigger toys, and Boo, which would be a pretty decent size as an enemy next to the 4-inch Mario. Along with things that wouldn't fit in scale, like the Princess Peach and the Yoshi, which are just minifigures. Although I guess these little 8-bit decorative pieces would be pretty nice. So yeah, that's the breakdown of that particular wave. So let's look at the little figure himself. Yep, this is the Deku Link, and they really did a good job of capturing his expression. He, as you recall, at the beginning of Majora's Mask, Deku Link was accosted by the Majora's Mask possessed Skull Kid, who placed a curse on him, turning him into a Deku Scrub. I believe it was a recently deceased Deku Scrub that had become a non-sentient tree in the forest. You know, that was the whole theme of Majora's Mask. The recently deceased would implant their souls into masks, and when Link put them on, he could become them. So, yeah. Pretty cool. The fact that they would make Deku Scrub Link kind of makes me wish that they would make the Goron Link and Zora Link. Although those would be figures that would have to be made in the 4-inch scale, and Goron Link might even have to be like a 5 or 6-inch tall figure because Gorons are quite big. So they'd be a significantly larger investment than this guy. Although, for a minifigure, he actually does put in that extra mile. Because something I didn't expect when I got him out of the package was that he actually does have a little bit of articulation. Both of his arms can swivel up and down, and he even has a swivel head. That's really nice. And his extremely long hat touches the ground, so it acts as a counter, as like a bit of a tripod, so you don't have to worry about him being top-heavy because of how huge the hat is. Because it's, well, okay, from certain angles you do, but you know what I'm talking about. When he's facing straight ahead, he's pretty stable. As stable as a tripod can be. So he's holding that little flower, just like we've seen in the artwork, and he has that sad expression on his face, like that's the look of a kid who's just been cursed and doesn't know if he's going to have to live out the rest of his life as a little plant kid. Also, I just wanted to note something about Majora's Mask. I think it's the only game that ever depicted the Deku Scrubs as a civilized race. Because you know you have the civilized races of Hyrule, like the Zoras, the Gorons, the Gerudo, etc. And then you have the monster races, like the Bokoblins and the Moblins and the Tektites. And you know, like it's very rare that you have a people that appear civilized in one game and only as monsters in another. I think you might be able to claim the Zoras, which are sometimes depicted as enemies that spit fireballs at you from bodies of water, at least in the top-down games. But I think they pointedly call them Zolas with an L, probably saying that Zolas are more feral type, similar to Zoras, but you know, not. So even. Well, I mean, that could just be L and R confusion with the romanization of Japanese words, which is quite common. But, you know, like, unless, you know, like, and I had to read up on that. Do Zolas count as a separate thing from Zoras, or is Zoras just one of those people that are nice in some games and enemies in another? As far as I'm aware, though, Majora's Mask is the only one to do such a thing with the Deku Scrubs, which, in every other game they appear in, they are always just kind of enemies, and not even very tough enemies. They're basically Octoroks you encounter in the forest. Although, it seems that they've actually made land Octoroks in more recent games, so... But I don't know, probably once they decided that, the Deku Scrubs were officially a civilized race, they decided to phase them out as enemies. Anyway, I've been talking about the lore way too much. Let's get some comparisons in. Here is the Deku Scrub Link next to the Skull Kid. As you can see, he's about half the size. I know Deku Scrubs are generally quite a small people, but you know, in the video game, I got the impression that the Deku Scrub was almost as tall as a regular child. Like this guy is outright puny. Comparison to the Ocarina of Time Link shows the scaling actually isn't that bad. I mean, like, if you just go by the raw size of the head, like, it seems that it would fit. I mean, there is no official World of Nintendo toy of young Link. If they made him, I imagine he'd be about the same height as Skull Kid. But you know, it's nice to just have an expansion of the line. And because I always have to show off, I just gotta make a little Majora's Mask theme here by putting in the Fierce Deity, because, you know, despite the fact that the elbow joints just can't be painted because of the type of plastic they're made out of, I'm still freaking proud of my Fierce Deity Link custom. Wait, why are you not standing? There. The table must be a little crooked. So, yeah, this little guy, he is technically an articulated figure, so if the reason you weren't buying him was because you didn't want a static minifigure, then there's that. And he actually looks pretty good next to the rest of the Legend of Zelda stuff. So if you want a different version of Link, which you know isn't often marketed because the game he's from is quite old at this point, I would say that you could do a lot worse for $5. This has been Wakeangel2K1, and I'm signing off.